Hey, everybody. We're going to give it a minute and wait for Patriot to get ended and start letting people funnel in. Uh, if y'all are not aware, you can tell our special guest this week is Kevin with Palmetto Cats.
Hey, everybody.
Glad to have you, Kevin. Uh, great,
Good to be here.
great pleasure to have you on.
That's good to be
See,
here.
Mike Sampy was in here. Uh, Avid's been in here. Eugene Brooks. Welcome, guys. Uh, we'll give it a little bit of time and people will start popping in. Uh, but yeah, you're a busy man. You're kind of like me. You do a lot, and sometimes you're hard to catch and get a hold of, but you do a lot in the catfish community. Uh, you know, even back to the virtual catfish conference. Steve Douglas and me, we're older guys. We're kind of technically challenged. So, when you went in and helped with that virtual catfish conference, it was a huge success. And I want to say thank you for that because, if you wouldn't have helped, it probably would not have went off like it did. And hey, Eric, welcome.
Yeah, your picture's not showing on YouTube. I'm trying to look at it. I don't think anybody can hear you.
Oh, wow.
There it goes. It's back now.
It's back now.
Yep. There's an error. It was showing an error message for whatever reason, but it's good now. You're good to go.
I wonder why. YouTube's kind of
Sometimes,
funny.
yeah, sometimes it'll crash like that just for no reason.
Yeah. Chris Usselton, Lance, Sean T, Big John, welcome. Yeah, see, Chris says he got a error message too. Hey, Brent, Fins and Foul. Uh, Mike Sampsey's back in. Uh, Chris said he had to click out and click back in.
Mm-hmm. That's what I had
There's
to do.
Johnny with James Outdoors. Hey, Johnny. Johnny fishes not too far from me. He's up in the northeastern corner of Oklahoma on Kerr up there. Larry DeLong, welcome. LG Bass. Boy, LG, I don't know if you've caught him in there, and they put a lot of time in on that water
They sure do.
fishing. And that dock that LG fishes got the built-in rod holders and stuff. It is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Not very great for cell phone reception, but other than that, it's set up pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
There's Polar Bear. Polar Bear's getting to where he's putting more lives out.
I've
It's
seen
great
that.
to see everyone getting involved. Hey, Nick, Sogo. But yeah, you have done so much for our catfish community, like we were talking earlier. CatCon, all the different tournaments, the knot tying, the Ironman. You have a series of Ironman that's coming on now and going through it. Hey, Tim Molina, welcome. You stay very busy. I mean, you even got to go up there to DC and fish with Has and them and Chunky. And man, it's great from a standpoint sitting back and watching. It's very entertaining, and we love watching it. And it's just so much fun.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we try to have fun. I mean, if we're not having fun, it's not going to be entertaining, right?
Yeah. Well, and you fish the Santee Cooper River chain up there, and I know a lot of times you're fishing that Cooper River.
Mm-hmm.
What is the deal with the floating islands of grass? I know you have trouble with grass, but me, I've never been there, and you will see these giant masses of, I call them islands of grass, and they're just going fly out there? Do they just float anywhere they want? Or are they like constantly moving? Or
Well, so from what I understand, usually Santee Cooper or DNR or whoever is in charge of it, I don't know, they'll kill off a lot of that floating weed, though, that grass like that. But I guess because of COVID or whatever, they didn't do it. But yeah, there's always been a lot of grass islands. What they are is the like lily pads, and they'll grow up next to the bank, and then the current will come through there real strong, or someone will cut through with a mud motor, or I've even done it to where I've anchored in one of them, and then when I go to get my anchor out, it pulls away from the ball, and then but those big giant ones, they usually break off from the bank when there's a big current or something. But yeah,
hey, Mike Urban, well,
I think last week there was one bigger than my boat floating right down the middle of the river.
yeah, I was watching it, and you see it come, and you're just like, wow. Hey, 351, welcome. To see that, we don't have anything like that down here. So when I watch these live streams and stuff, I'm seeing new things. Like y'all got gators up there where you fish.
Oh yeah.
I do not have gators down here. Hey, Michael Williams.
Oh yeah, we actually Dad and I went fishing today for some big brim, and we went right over a 12-foot gator, and I guess he didn't realize we were there, and once he looked up and saw the boat, he knee-jerk reaction, and whoosh, he went off. Yeah, they're really abundant in the river. Now they're in the lake too, but not as many are in the lake as in the river. Well, it doesn't. You don't see them. Maybe they are in there just as much, but you don't see them as much in the lake as you do in the river.
Yeah, Michael Williams, you'll probably have to click out and click back in. I know they said it was showing an error at the beginning. There's Mark, Catfish and Crappie. Welcome, Mark. So, do you mainly do a lot of anchor fishing up there instead compared to the drifting or dragging weights? You like to anchor, correct?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I used to primarily just drag baits, but when I got into live streaming, the signal on the lake isn't as great. So I ended up having to go in the river and anchor in spots that I knew I could get signal. But I mean, well, it's still not that great. But Hilljack and I went fishing on Tuesday, and he was able to stay live the whole time. Yeah. But it really wasn't that bad. I mean, it was fuzzy sometimes. And I want to make sure that if I'm putting out a live stream, it's high quality. So in the river, I can almost guarantee that there's about 5 or 6 spots where I can go where it's going to be crystal clear and everybody can see it's high quality because, and everybody tries really hard. It's nobody's fault. But, you'll see some live fishing streams where it's all grainy or it's lagging a lot, and it's just not fun to watch, especially if the audio is bad. Now, if the audio is really good and it's lagging a little bit, I can deal with that. But if it's crystal clear, it's like watching a video. That's better, of course. So that's why I started anchor fishing a lot more.
Yep. Welcome, William Warner.
Honestly, the takedowns are better when you're on anchor too.
Well, and that's one thing about live fishing that people don't understand. When you're trying to go live, you don't necessarily get to fish the places you want to fish. You're kind of at the mercy of whether you get service there or not. You may have some great places you want to fish, but if you can't get service there, you can't go live. Mm-hmm. It definitely adds another detail into fishing, another challenge and obstacle, because you don't always have that cell phone service.
That's right.
And so I know y'all deal with a lot, not just the floating grass, but there's times you're out there and you're anchored up and you'll cast out and you'll see the rod start moving. And even on bottom under the water, y'all have got grass and stuff that's coming through. Is that like all year? Is that something you have to
No,
battle constantly?
it's mostly during the warmer months. That we call it Cooper River coleslaw. And
Yeah,
it's that slimy stuff, that slimy grass that just collects all down your line. And normally it doesn't happen on. So the Cooper River is a tidal system. So like today, I'm glad I went brim fishing with Dad. We had a great time. We caught some fish, but it would have been a perfect day for catfishing in that channel because they weren't running water from the powerhouse. They weren't generating power. So, it was just a slow incoming current, and that's when I usually tear them up, and I don't have to worry about the grass as much. But when they have that
yeah,
powerhouse on and they're running grass, especially down in the rice fields where I'm at, man, the grass is brutal. It'll grab your line and just slowly bend your rod down, and there's nothing you can
yeah.
do
A lot
about
of the time it looks almost like that flathead bite.
it. Yeah. Oh, I wish, man. I
It, it
wish.
kind of it kind of messes with you because it gets you excited because it looks like that flathead bite where you're just putting pressure on it and it turns out to be grass. But you have caught some nice fish out of there. Uh, they are traveling that river system. They are in those waters.
Hmm.
Uh, I even watched one where you went out and went camping on one of the islands out there and stuff.
Hmm.
So you have a lot of different scenarios you can fish right there close to home on that river or the lakes.
Yep.
You've got versatility to where you can pretty well fish however you want, wherever you want, and that makes it nice.
Mostly the only thing that
See, Dave.
camping video was up on Lake Marion, at one of the two Santee lakes. The only thing that I would say that I kind of miss out on is deep water. We really don't have deep water. Even our river, the majority of the river is less than 30 feet deep. The majority of the lake is less than 30 feet deep. Most of Lake Moultrie and Lake Marion are 15 to 40 foot deep. Um, so that's pretty much the only thing we miss out on. But other than that, we do have a great system up here. It's a great fishery. It's not polluted. We can eat our fish that come out of there, which I'm quickly discovering
Yeah.
is rare because a lot of people I talk to say, "Oh
Yep.
no, I never eat the fish out of here," or something like that. And I'm like, "Well, I would eat ours any day of the week."
Yep.
So
Yep.
we're blessed. We're blessed in that way as well.
See, Dave made it in. Big Mike, welcome, guys. Uh, now,
So I
when
see.
you go out, do you go ahead?
I just saw a question from Catfish and Crappy Mark. Is Lake Marion the dangerous one? I would say out of the two lakes, um, so both of them are dangerous in bad weather or windy weather. Moultrie is the more dangerous one for wind because it'll blow up the chop really fast. Um, Lake Marion is kind of like the stumpy one. So the lakes were built for power by Santee Cooper, and they were clear cutting. They pretty much almost finished Lake Moultrie, the lower lake, which is the big bowl, which is why the wind is so bad. They pretty much finished clear cutting that one, but then Lake Marion, they pretty much flooded it. They ran out of time or money or whatever during World War II, and they just flooded it. And so there's 40-foot trees in there, and still to this day. Well, I took Hilljack out on Tuesday in Lake Moultrie, and we floated past a tree that was this far below the surface of the water in 10 foot of water. So it was an 8-foot tree
Yeah.
stump just out in the middle of the lake. Like you can look across and you wouldn't know that it was there, and you can just ride up on it. That's what makes it so dangerous. Is you think you're riding in open water and you're just bumping along, and all of a sudden, boom! It's 2 foot deep, and it's just
Yep.
it's nuts.
Hey, Justin, welcome.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
Sogo.
because
Yeah.
you get guys that don't, yeah, you get guys that don't know the water, and they're out there in these boats, and they're flying by. It makes it real dangerous.
Mhm.
I was watching one of your live streams, and you were fishing, and you tried to holler at the guys because
Oh,
you
yeah.
knew it was fixing to get shallow. And I mean, that dude went blazing by you, and he got up there, and he's kicking up mud and everything else. And you know, it's amazing to watch those guys, and they have not a clue where they're going or what they're doing, and they still run wide open down through there.
Yeah, that was in the river. I remember what you're talking about, and that's called new boat syndrome. I just got a new boat, and I'm gonna go take it out. And in that river down now up in the farther towards the dam, the channel is really defined by the trees. The water moves
Yep.
with the trees, and it's really defined. But down in the rice field, you can look across again. You look across the river, and it all just looks like water. But what people don't realize is most of that water that you see is about a foot or half a foot, foot and a half to 2 foot deep, because those are the actual rice fields where they used to grow and harvest rice. So if you don't follow those channel markers through that winding stretch, just like the guy you saw, he went straight in there. I was waving him down, whatever. He ended up
Yep.
limping out with a trolling motor. He broke a prop blade off, which is, I think he got lucky, because you can go in there and hit one of them
Yeah,
big tree
because
stumps and you'll be done.
yeah, it's all over with. That's how most of the fatalities we have down here on the water happen. One of the lakes I fish, when they flooded it and built that lake, they left all the trees. There's houses underwater. The fences are still there, the old concrete bridges and roads. And now you can ski on it and stuff. They cleared an area over by the dam where there's no trees and stuff where you can ski and run your boats and stuff. But people won't stay in that area. They come back there and they got them bass boats and stuff. And they think they're going to get there so quick. They're running wide open and they hit one of them stumps and they either get ejected out of the boat or it just rips the whole bottom of that boat out. And we've had a lot of people die because of that. And, guys, them fish will be there when you get there. Slow down, be careful, take your time. I noticed a big thing up there with y'all too is there are a lot of bass fishermen and pleasure boaters, and they are not always the most courteous. They will almost, they are so close that when they come by, even sitting at home watching the live stream, you're like, man, they're fixing to run into every one of those lines. They don't give you a whole lot of room up there, do they?
I mean, there's people in every crowd. I mean, I try not to label a whole. I always try to not to generalize people and put people in groups, because I honestly think that's one of the things that's wrong with our country or the world right now is everybody just wants to put everybody in a category, and that's how you are. So, not to get political on you, but that's kind of how I see bass fishermen. Just yesterday I went out fishing, and one of the nicest guys I ever met out on the water was a bass fisherman, and we had a great conversation. He idled past me. I think it's all in how you're raised, and if you're raised to be courteous and you're raised to be aware of your surroundings, then you're going to be fine. You'll be fine. But yeah, they're just, and I think what I see is, since there's a lot more bass fishermen, that's why it seems like it's just the bass fishermen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've
Hey,
had some
Robert
close
Andrews,
calls.
welcome.
Yeah, I've had some close calls for sure. I haven't had anybody run over my lines yet, but I have had a prop plane fly in front of me, which was that was pretty neat.
Yeah. Hey,
I had
David Hamilton, welcome.
I had a plane take off and land right in front of me, across my bow.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing that. Fish Smack, welcome. You just never know what you're going to see out there. But you were talking about, not labeling and stuff. That day that one guy flew by, there was another bass angler out there. There was a tournament going on, and he was over there fishing by y'all. And, he knew what was going to happen too, because y'all started talking back and forth, and you're like, I tried to warn him. And, you could tell he's been on that water enough, because all you could do was just stand back and say, hey, wait a minute, watch this. And, then he was down there kicking mud and, but you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter if they're a bass fisherman, a cat fisherman, what kind of person, what they're fishing for. We share the waters. We got to be kind and courteous to each other. And, that goes a long ways. Fishing is fishing. I don't care what kind of fish you're out there fishing for. If that's what you want to do and that's what gives you that pleasure, man, go after it, chase it. Just be respectful and courteous to others.
Yeah. And
yeah, Michael.
Yeah, they're saying that I'm watching actually on your YouTube feed. It does keep crashing. All you got to do is keep refreshing, and
YouTube may be having an issue. I don't know. It hadn't crashed over here, but
it does that every once in a while.
Yeah, the jet skis can be murder on a lake.
That's the thing when I'm fishing in those rice fields. I see it all the time because it's so windy through there, and I'm just so surprised that and maybe I'm not surprised, because in South Carolina, if you were born after a certain date, you're grandfathered in to boating. Like, you don't have to take a boater safety course or anything like that. So I guess that's where it comes from. But I'm so surprised at how many people don't realize what the channel markers are for. And so that kind of blows my mind. And everybody I see having, that goes in to those rice fields or whatever, if they can end up coming back out, I end up telling them, keep the red on your left and the right and the green on your right if they're going back towards our dock. Oh, that's what those are for? I'm like, yeah, they mark the channel so you don't do what you just did. And some of them get really lucky.
Yeah. People that don't know, they've never been out there, kind of like you say, the new boaters, they go out there on that body of water, never been out there. They have no idea, and, they're just not paying attention. They're not educated. So, to take your time and sit there and actually, be able to tell them that's what them markers are for. Them guys actually learned two things that day. Stay in the markers and don't go flying through back there in the rice fields. I mean, that props are not cheap. They kind of learned an expensive lesson, but it's better than losing your life.
In that particular situation, that was a brand new boat. It was a couple younger guys, maybe early 20s, if even that old. They just didn't know what they were doing. They didn't mean anybody any harm. They didn't know anything, but again, they didn't know what they were doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, get you some kind of mapping system, or just ask somebody. Just ask.
Yeah.
And what I don't get is that they had already come through there once. So I guess it's on the return trip to go back to the boat ramp is where it kind of gets confusing. I don't really pay attention to it too much because it's kind of like second nature,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess on the way back, it's a little tougher to navigate. But even on the lakes, you have to stay in those. If you really want to be safe, most of Lake Moultrie you can get across without hitting anything. But if there's certain parts of it, if you're not in that channel, like I said, you'll run up on one of them trees just sticking up. You can't see it. You can't see it till you hit it or you pass it. And
Yeah.
it's nuts, man. It still sends shivers down my spine every time I see one.
So I notice you fish the river more than you do the lakes. Why do you prefer the river over the lakes?
Just because of live streaming. I mean, so I grew up on that river. My dad always took me fishing on the river. We fished for catfish, we fished for brim, shellcracker, bass, everything on that river. So I just, I know it. I know it like the back of my hand. I know where the shallow
Yeah.
spots are, the deep spots are. So when I started YouTube and getting into catfishing, I realized that Santee Cooper Lake Moultrie is well known for catfish. So I learned how to. I was watching Dieter Melhorn, and I learned how to
Yeah.
drag baits. And so I was like, well, I never heard of dragging baits before, but apparently it was a real popular thing. I learned where the Santee Cooper rig is, and we're talking like
Yep.
3 or 4 years ago now, but only catfishing I ever did was anchored up and throwing out a rod. That was it. And so I saw Steve Douglas drifting. Now we did drift and vertical bounce. Like we didn't back bottom bounce like they do up at the dams, like Mike Greenwell and them do. We didn't do that kind of thing, but we
Yeah.
took an egg sinker and we'd float down the channel and bounce the egg sinker off the bottom and catch catfish that way. But I learned how to drag baits, and I've been fishing the lake a lot this past week. You just don't see any videos because I've been doing terrible.
Yeah. But that's real fishing. It happens. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not always going to go out there and catch, and you just never know unless you go out there.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
Dale Hayslip made it in. Hey, Dale.
Yeah,
3+1.
The spawn is usually over by now. I have memories popping up on my Facebook, and I looked at some old videos. Me and Anna went out on 4th of July 2 years ago when I had my little boat, and we caught 15, 20 fish in 2 hours on July 4th. And then I went out there on July 5th and got skunked. I mean, it just happens. The weather patterns have been really weird this year too. So I don't know. I'm just terrible at catfishing. I don't know.
I think the weather has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly Bullock, welcome to Bullock Experience. I've noticed down here the fish are confused too because they try and pull up and spawn, and we've had so much rain, and our lakes are flooding. They're draining them down. They're flooding. They're draining them down just over and over and over again. And every time the fish pull up into the rocks and stuff where they want to spawn, the water comes up. Then they drain it down, so they're pulling back out, and the fish don't even really know what's going on. I've noticed the weather, I think, has a lot to do with it because I'm noticing a lot of deer with babies just being born, and it's late in the year. Normally you don't see that. And I mean, there's tons of little ones with spots and stuff. So, I think the weather not only affected the fish and their spawn, it affected everything. And I think
agree.
that's a big part of it.
I think our spawn is just running late this year. It's got to be what it is. I was just telling Dad earlier today. I said, usually this time of year I can pull up on one of these channel ledges and just throw off and sit back and the rods just dance. I'm catching 4, 5, 6, 10 fish, kind of like Mark catfishing crappie today. I think last time I saw he had like 17. Having those type of days this late in the year, but for some reason, I think it's just a late spawn. They're just not. They're not there, or I suck. One of the two. It could be both.
Yeah. you know, that's part of fishing. If you go out and you're not catching fish, you automatically talk to other fishermen in your area. And if they're not catching fish, you're like, good, it's not just me. Because, you know, you're always like, man, is it me? Is everybody catching fish or what's going on? And, you know, your dad, you talked about the knowledge he has of that Cooper River. And I love it when he's in your live streams because you'll be out there fishing and you may not be doing nothing. You'll get to talking about moving, and dad will be like, well, this is where you need to go. Go over here. And, you know, he can tell you exactly where you need to be. And, man, that's knowledge you don't get from a map. That's from years of experience on the water. And it's great that you have an asset like that. And, you know, he's so helpful, and he'll let you know, hey, you know, they're probably doing this because he watches. And if you're not catching fish, he's automatically going, well, if he's not catching them here, something's going on. If they're not there, maybe they're over here. But
I had to teach him how to catch up in the stream because he provides all that awesome information, but it's a half hour late.
Yeah.
He's like, after the stream you're talking about, I went and hung out with him. He said, here, teach me how to catch up, because if I'm watching at work, I'll pause it and then I'll go do what I need to do, and then I'll press play again. I was like, that's your problem. Just let it run. Just let it run. But you're right. You know, he knows that river. He's been fishing that river since he was a teenager, so he knows a lot about it.
Yeah, Real Bill Catfishing made it in. Hey, you know, and you put on a lot of tournaments and stuff. All the Iron Cats, the knot tying contests and stuff like that. You know, did you expect it to be that big, or were you kind of shocked at the reception and how big these events have gotten?
I mean, I'm always surprised that people want to come in and support. You know, I don't ever feel cocky about it. I'm getting more confident, I'll say. But you know, when I started live streaming, it was just an experiment, and I talked to Lyle Stokes, and he was like, yeah, do it, you know, just do it and see what happens. If you like it, you know, whatever. And you know, I did it, and you know, the response wasn't that great at first, and I thought about stopping. So then I had some guests on the show, and that was okay. And then a lot more live streams came on, and everybody has guests or something. And at a certain point, it clicked to me. I was like, well, you know, there's only so many people in the catfishing world. We're going to start recycling guests, and you know, I want to do something a little different. And you know, the knot tying tournament came up. That was pretty cool. I can't remember the first thing I did.
Yes.
I think it was a knot tying tournament, and then trivia night. You know, that was something cool. Something that I'm looking forward to doing this October. Last October, I started this series on gear where we had people come up, and I think that's where it really started, actually, before the tournaments. Doing stuff a little bit differently. I had everybody bring their favorite reel up, and they came up and they talked about the reel. They showed it. They had 5 minutes to talk about it, and then we moved on. And then I did the rods, and the rod live stream went crazy. It's called the Rod Report, and that thing's got, I think, almost 10,000 views on it on a live stream. Which is nuts. People still watch it, and they still comment, and they say, oh, wow, this is, you know, I've been looking for a new rod and listening to these guys. It's nothing I did other than create the live stream, but everybody that was talking about their reels and rods provided excellent information for people to go make informed purchases, you know. So that was that was the first time I realized, okay, people are receptive to this type of thing. And then the Golden Whiskers kind of really just, you know, that's when I really, you know, Mike Murillo and I we still have it, but we had this little thing. We developed a friendship, and we have this Google Drive form that we type on, and I'll type ideas in there. He'll type ideas in there. And then he had something in there sitting for a while. It was like, what about some kind of Palmetto Awards? And I was thinking, yeah, that could be cool. And I just kind of thought about it, and over time, it just developed. And then, we got the name from LG Bass, Tom. We were talking at that time. He's like, "What about the golden whiskers?" I was like, "Man, that's got a ring to it right there." So it was a collaborative effort, and
Yep.
then getting people to vote was the hardest part. I believe this year is going to be a lot easier. People are going to want to vote. People are going to want to
Yep.
put their 2 cents in and nominate stuff. But, getting people to vote was tough. But once I got the nominations in and the votes in, creating all those things and setting it up was so fun. And people were really receptive to it. And that's when I knew. I was like, yes, I need to go down this kind of avenue, doing special events and I'll have a guest on every once in a while. But yeah, so that's probably more of an answer than you wanted. But that's really doing that kind of stuff, that stuff that hadn't been done before, or maybe it's been done but in a different way. Really kind of piqued my interest. And then Chad, Fishing with the Chad, changed the whole game up again in October when he did the couples tournament. And through it was in the midst of the pandemic, and he did it through StreamYard, and I was like, everybody was like, this is so cool. And then Mark started doing something like that with the one-on-one with Catfish and Crappie. That was successful.
Yeah.
And then I did the derby, the derbies, and what was the first one? The Whisker Bowl, where everybody was on their own channels. But then it just kind of developed, and the Iron Cats came out of that same idea that Chad and Mark had with the bringing everybody into a live stream and doing that type of tournament. So I think this community really fostered a lot of ideas for all of us. I think people will create something, and then people will say, oh, that's interesting, but what if I did this? Well, that's interesting, but what if I did that? So, and I think that it's paid off for all of us. I think it's really provided a lot of quality content for the whole community.
Yep. Roger Brown, welcome. I see you made it in. Mario Sanchez, Clint Circle Hook Productions, welcome everyone.
Got some South Carolina
I noticed the
folks
tournament. Yeah. The tournaments have gotten big, and a lot of other people are starting to do them. Like Muskrat, he just had the kids tournament,
that was
big
good.
success. So by taking the initiative and starting something, and people seeing the tournaments and that being all live, and it has definitely grown. And the one versus ones and stuff like that, because people will watch. We're all fishing addicts, and if you go live fishing, we will watch. And if we don't get to catch you live, a lot of times I go back and I'll watch it after the fact because I want to see what's going on. And we have a lot of great channels out there, a lot of great people. The fishing community has grown, and it is a wealth of knowledge now. But I can still remember back to the first time. The first one I ever started watching was Steve Douglas.
Oh yeah, me too.
I'm a big Steve Douglas fan. I've watched him for many years. And he's I got to watching him, and I started seeing the monster rods and the rod holders and stuff like that. And hey, Tree Limb Fishing, but you mentioned like your one on the rods. It still gets views today because catfishing kind of exploded. And used to, we did not have companies that catered directly to the catfishermen. You didn't have all these products that were specific for catfish. But there are so many out there now Uh, just the rods alone, everyone's got catfish rods. And when y'all guys do shows like on the rods and the comparisons and stuff, you've got a bunch of people that come in there that are looking to buy new rods and they are not sure which one they're going to like. So it kind of gives us input and insight to help us make a more educated decision on what we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's fair.
Hey,
And everybody who's worth their grain of salt will tell you that you don't need any of them rods to catch a catfish. I always say that you can catch a catfish with a broomstick. Uh,
yeah,
but a lot of, if you can afford it and you want something to match your color scheme, or you want something that's going to last for a long time because you fish a lot, you're going to want to step up, and that's where those live streams really help. So I that's what I'm looking for. Shoot, even since last year, we've got several new rods on the market. You got Uncle Lou's rods, you got the Mad Cat's rods, you got the Hellcat rod out. I mean, there's probably more than that. So that's why I want to do that show every year. And I invite people on there and give them 5 minutes. They talk about their favorite rod, and we tell them where they can get them from, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be ready. Stephen Corley, welcome. Roger, Muskrat Adventures, welcome, Roger. Stuff like that help. Even just the virtual catfish conference that you put on, you helped them get that together. Everyone was heartbroken when the catfish conference got canceled.
I was too.
But doing it the virtual way was better than not being able to have one at all. And I think the virtual conference, for those that are not able to make it to the physical catfish conference, man, it's awesome. And a lot of the guys come in, the rod companies and stuff, they had specials and stuff going on. So it gave people a chance at home to participate and get in on these discounts and stuff. And even though the catfish conference this year will be live, I still think the virtual catfish conference is going to be very, very big, because for every 2,000 people that show up at that catfish conference, you may have 8 to 10,000 people that are not able to make it. And that virtual conference brings it home to them. And I think it's tremendous what y'all did with it. It was a very special event, and I think it's just going to keep growing and getting bigger.
Oh yeah, we've got plans. I'm trying to come up with ideas. Steve's actually got a really good idea for the people who are coming that I can't release, but hopefully it'll work out so he can release it. But as far as the virtual part of it, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be live streaming once a day, from the CatCon YouTube, of course, and then I'll do something on my channel too. But most of it will be through CatCon. But you'll get to see everything. I think Steve is going to ask all the vendors to have like an online discount as well for the people who can't be there.
Yeah.
But of course, it's going to be huge. I mean, after having to cancel it last year, I mean, I can see this thing like blowing out the seams of that conference center. But yeah, I'm going to have me a mobile cart with the laptop on it and the camera and lights and a microphone. I'm going to be coming around, and anybody who's there with YouTube, you can come up and go live with me on the CatCon YouTube page and get your name out there. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited. Steve and Hervé do a really good job with that, and they started planning before last year's was even over. Before we were even done live streaming, they're already planning for next year. So
yeah, Hervé, he donated tickets to the CatCon for giveaways and stuff. They really do a lot, and it was fun. I enjoy Hervé a lot, and you know, it's easy to get overwhelmed now because there are so many products out on the market for catfish, and
Yeah.
people are like, well, which one's the best? And, you know, people still have questions about what action rod to get, you know, how much backbone do they need? And just the fluorescent rods alone. Chunky Cats really started something with them glow in the dark rods, and now everybody in the market is trying to come out with their own glow in the dark rods, and it's become a big market. Uh, Even Uncle Lou,
You're gonna
his new
make
rods. I
Chunky's
don't know if
head get bigger. Chunky's head is swelling if
well,
he's watching.
Chunky Chunky's the one that started all that neon and the black lights, and it went
Yeah.
over tremendously. And now everyone's playing catch up. Uncle Lou, his new rods that he's got out, man, they're really nice. We got the glow tips on them, and that black light hits them. And Ricky's Creations even made painted Chunky a rod. He's made the ones with the lights in them. The eel wire, I believe it is.
Yep.
Uh, you know, it's definitely come a long way, and there is a lot to it.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely I don't know. You can end up paying a lot of money, going crazy. We're all gear nuts, and uh, but it's fun. It's fun to get new gear if you can get it. As far as me, like I already know which rods I would get, but I like to when a new one comes out, I like to get it at least one, and I'll show it
Yeah.
off on the channel. I'll take one out, I'll switch a few up every once in a while, so people can just see what's out there. And I believe, as YouTubers, that's kind of like we should be on the front lines if we want to be taken seriously, especially the smaller channels. And what I mean by smaller is like under 100,000, under a million. Those guys. We need to be doing stuff like that to earn that respect, not only from the viewers but from the community as well. And I think that's when we would get um, the notice from the companies.
Yeah.
Oh wow, if you I'd be lying if I didn't say a goal one day would be, oh man, if we get a new rod out, we're gonna have to send it to Kevin so that everybody
Yeah.
can see it. That would be awesome. So I didn't have to buy
Well,
one.
and you know the old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. People take notice, they're watching, and if you have a lot of people coming into your channel and stuff, those guys that send those rods and stuff, that's advertisement for them.
Oh
When
yeah.
they people in your live stream are watching you catch fish on their rods or their reel or their tackle, it's great advertisement for them. And the catfish market right now is so crowded. Any advertisement they can get helps. Uh,
Yeah.
Even tackle. Look how many different circle hooks are out there now. Uh,
Mhm.
you can find circle hooks from just about every company. You know, it used to not
Ye-
be that way.
Yeah, and I don't, that's what their promotional staff is supposed to be. The people say pro staff, and I think a lot of people think that those people are pros, and maybe some people
Yeah,
are. Maybe some people are professional cat fishermen or professional anglers, but I'm not. So to be pro staff, that pro stands for promotional. It means that you use their product and you show it off. And I think I don't want to. I mean, I'm promotional staff for catfish and for Jimmy's Santee drifters and monster rod holders. But I don't need to be pro staff for everybody. I think pro staff, the only real benefit to it is that they're showing your product off. And so I believe that if somebody's pro staff, they should be putting their product out there all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I kind of like how, and I hope he doesn't mind, but I kind of like how Uncle Lou does things. Lee Reed. So he'll send somebody out, a set of planter boards that's got a little influence in the community, and then they'll show them off. And the next thing you know, he's got 10, 15 orders from it. He'll send out a rod to Chunky Cats, and he'll fish with them one night, and he'll get 37 rod orders, that night. So he didn't name anybody pro staff, but he just sends it out to people, and that way they give an honest opinion. They don't really have any gain from it, and then Uncle Lou, Lee's paying into it, or making out from it. And Lee's a good guy. He really
Yes, he is.
He really takes care of the community.
Hey, Dan's Creation, welcome. And he sends stuff out to everyone. He'll send rattles, demon dragons, his style floats, sinkers, hooks, whatever. He supports a lot of people and sends it out to a lot of people. And guys, simple stuff, a hat, anything that I win in the chats and stuff, like the visor and stuff from Has. People send me stickers. If I can get them to send stickers, I put them on the backdrop behind me. You can see hooks and hammocks behind me, because every time I go live or I'm out there fishing, if I'm wearing their hat or their shirt, I've got their merch out there. I'm advertising for them. And, it's a great conversation starter, because you may be out on this body of water and people see you with these logos and these company names or the stickers even on your windshield. And they come up and they're like, what is this? And, I get to explain to them about the YouTube channels, the fishing community and stuff like that. And stuff like that draws people in, guys. Something as small as a hat. Most all of us guys wear hats. Well, everywhere we go and every person we run across, we're advertising with whatever logo we've got on. And, it's an awesome source. And, like you said, Uncle Lou sends that stuff out, and he has been such a blessing to so many people. It's just awesome. And, I always push Uncle Lou. I love his hooks and stuff. I buy my stuff from him, everything I can, because he does do so much for the catfish community, and it gives us a chance to support him back and show him the same love that he shares with everyone else. Just like our weights, Brad Caudell makes weights. They're good quality weights. So when I need weights, I'll get a hold of Brad. It's my way of giving back to the community that has given so much to me just by watching my live streams and stuff. So it's really great. I recommend anybody that can shop, or I would say shop local. Help support the guys that support us in the catfish community. And we really do have a lot of great people. Catfish Clothing, I think he makes a lot of the hats for a lot of the people. And
he makes mine.
His hats and I mean, it's quality, it's exceptional work. And so I kind of like to get those people's names out that do so much for our community, because it gives us a chance to show our support for them. I remember when Uncle Lou blew up, he come in, he showed that first set of planer boards. And as soon as everyone seen them planer boards, chat exploded. Everyone wanted to know how much, where do we get them? And I think Uncle Lou, his little hobby turned into a full-time job now.
Yeah, I was talking to him on the phone the other day, or on Friday, I think it was, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go get away and go to the lake or go camping or something." He said, "Man, it's It's been a lot. I was like, I bet, especially after, Chunky put your rods out there in front of, 8,000 people.
Yeah.
You're bound to get some orders. So, no, I agree.
Well,
There's a bunch of awesome people. Lee Reed is one of them. Catfish, Chris from Catfish does all he can. That man is constantly on the phone trying to network with people.
yeah.
You got, I mean, you look at Chris Flores too. Chris Flores, he donates to everybody. Anytime anybody's got a tournament, all you got to do is call him up. It seems like, and he's he sends something out, and I think those people who invest, and here's, I know I'm rambling, but you look closely. Look at the people who invest into the community. Those people who invest in the community and put something back in are the ones who I try to promote, and if they'll let me pay them, I'll buy their stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and you can honestly see, what they're doing.
Well, like Chris Flores, just like you were talking, he had done so much for the catfish community. When he come out with his blue cat rods and they first hit the market, I do not think he expected such a big demand for them. And them things sold out quick, especially the casting rods. It went quick. And, he moved from that to making the custom Paula Smith rod. Everyone wanted the Paula Smith rod. And he just does so much for our community. And you watch him, and, it's people that you trust, just like Steve Douglas. You watch him with the monster rods, the hydro nets.
Mm-hmm.
You see him use this stuff. So when he puts something on the market, you feel confident that it is a quality product.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great that our community has grown to where we have all these resources at our fingertips, basically, and we can get what we need, because like I said earlier, there was a time it wasn't catfish specific. You were having to buy trolling rods, or maybe a striper rod or something like that for catfish, and surf rods. They were not design specific. And now it's just a great time. And especially for the catfish angler, we're still growing. It's still starting. I think this is going to be bigger. I don't think it will ever reach the plateau of bass fishing, because you have all the big money tournaments and stuff. But catfishing, and this is all over the country, it's not localized to one area, has definitely grown. CPR, even every time we go live, anyone that fishes does their live streams, and you're releasing your fish and you're explaining CPR, we're doing our part to help educate people and get CPR out there. So, every little bit helps. Hey, Miss Lori.
Just to add a little bit, piggyback on what you said, I actually think catfishing could get as big as bass fishing if we would get out of our own way. And here's what I mean by that. You have the bass, right? Largemouth bass, smallmouth bass. How much are they protected more than a catfish? I mean, a ton more.
Yep.
I mean, the limits are a lot more strict. You can only keep 5 bass in our state 12 inches or over. That's it. 5, but you can't use them. You can't even use them for catfish bait. We protect the heck out of them because people pour so much money into catching them. It's a money maker for the state.
Yep.
So if we would get out of our own way, and what I mean by we is all of us who love it so much, we have to do what you said. We have to promote that CPR. We have to we don't have to join any kind of organization, but we need to talk to our hometown legislators. That's where it starts.
Yep.
And that, same thing. And again, I'm not getting on politics, but people get so worked up over, your president, who's your president. You you should care about who your legislator is in your district. You should care about who your mayor of your town is, your governor, your local government is what's going to push those national things. Exactly. State representatives, all that. Get with those people and push your agenda with the small government, because those are the people who are going to make the difference. Another thing is, there's a lot of drama in catfishing. I mean, maybe I just don't see it, but I don't see people fighting over which bass rod is the best. Maybe there is. I'm just not. I'm not in any of those groups, and it seemed like those guys have like a common respect for each other. When you look across our sport, you have people like there's in our community we're pretty chill, but then you look across the community, especially in the pro arena, people get at each other's throats. People fuss at each other.
Yep.
People tear each other down. So, if we had more positivity, if we, not to bring religion on your show, but, I profess my faith all the time and try to live like that a little bit more than just trying to tear everybody down all the time. Maybe our sport could get as popular as bass fishing. So that's just my little soapbox about it.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Coming on and tearing each other down on public platforms and stuff, it really does nothing. It doesn't benefit you. It doesn't benefit them. You're just hurting the catfishing image. You don't always have to agree with somebody,
right?
But just because you don't agree with somebody doesn't mean you can't be polite, respectful, and still treat them with courtesy and like a human being.
Amen.
We don't always have to agree. Look what. Not to get all in the Bible, but look at what Jesus went through. He was ridiculed for every single thing he did. I mean, and crucified because of it. And we don't need to do that. We're not here to crucify people. We don't want to judge. We don't want to be hasty. A lot of people have different opinions. Maybe you have information that person does not. Instead of getting upset and taking and blowing the situation out of control, sit down to a cup of coffee, go have lunch together, and share your information back and forth with each other, because it may just be lack of information. You have more than they do, or they have more information that you do not. Keep an open mind and, always treat people the way you would like to be treated in return.
I agree. Yeah. And, I think one of the things that, I keep saying one of the things, there's a lot of things, but, one of the main issues I see is that we don't talk. We don't actually talk. We have a lot of keyboard warriors, as it were, in society now, and it's caused us to be so separated from each other when we're upset. Most of the time, I've found, especially with YouTube or social media in general, that most times that people are upset, they just don't have all the information, or they misinterpreted information. And when you call somebody, or you have an honest conversation, and you can say, no, that's not what it was at all. And then they're like, oh, well, I thought this and I thought that. Well, now that we're talking, we're good to go, So, just having that conversation, I think, will help us. Going back to getting catfishing as big as bass fishing, I think that's a great way to start as well. Just have an actual conversation saying, hey, dude, just, give me a call and let's talk about it. Let's just have a chat.
Yep.
Because what you can interpret through this person who heard this from your mouth and interpreted it this way and told this person, by the time he gets back around to you, you know, it's done changed 15 times. So,
Yeah.
and just, I
Hey,
think
Ace, welcome.
that's not just that's just not a catfishing problem. That's a world problem right there. So when we fix that, I think we're going to be going places.
It's communication. You got to be able to communicate with people. If you have a problem with someone, you don't have to go on a public media site and blast it all out. Talk to them one on one. If we fail to communicate, we fail as a society. We've got to communicate with each other. And, a lot of people have lost that. It doesn't matter if it's a friendship, a relationship, a business relationship, whatever. You've got to have that communication. Okay. Now, I think you mentioned it where you have pronounced your faith, and anyone that watches your live streams and stuff, they end with a prayer. You're not against if something's going on, stopping in the middle of the live stream and saying your prayer and stuff. And I give you props to that because a lot of people will not do that. And it's a big inspiration for people on the outside watching because it brings out and it shows people that they can do it also. No one knew about the glow in the dark rods till Chunky did it. Someone has to start that trend forward. And, it's awesome to watch, just from even a spectator. I know that I could come in to your live streams with my little granddaughters and my grandson, and we can watch fishing, and you're not going to have the profanity. You're not going to have a bunch of vulgarness. And I'm safe to bring my family into that environment. And it means a lot because you don't always have a safe environment to bring your family into. So I want to give you big props for that. And, I thank you. And I'm sure everybody in chat appreciates it too.
I appreciate that, man.
So tell us a little bit about your rigs. With that river and the grass and everything, have you figured out any little secrets that maybe help to keep grass off a little less or, not get snagged as much?
No, no, because I mean, just to put it bluntly, when that grass is flowing through the water column, it catches your line, and it just slides all the way down until it catches the leader, and that's where it collects on the leader. So it doesn't matter what rig you got. If once you get down to that leader, now if you can stand it, if you can stand that rod being bent over, the bait's most likely fine. But that grass just keeps accumulating and accumulating over and over, and then it'll start to pick up the weight and move, and your rod just goes all the way down. So, no, when I've learned just to give up on those types of situations and to find another spot, because there's nothing that's going to keep that grass from accumulating on the line.
Yeah. Sometimes there's little things you can do, like the bodies of water that I fish, rocks and sticks. You can change sinkers and stuff, and sometimes that helps. But with that grass, you're kind of at the mercy.
Yeah.
What is if you had one bait that you could use year round, if you were going out to put fish in the boat, what would be your favorite bait?
Year round, it would probably be fresh river herring down here. It's kind of like a skipjack, but it's we can't get access to it all year. But in like January, February, March, maybe April, You can catch them on sabiki rigs, or you can buy them. But yeah, they're like a 14-inch, like a skipjack, and cutting that up, man, that stuff bleeds so well, and it's really oily, and anybody who's used skipjack knows exactly what I'm talking about. Gizzard shad, in the winter, but you said one bait, so I would pick
Yep.
the river herring.
Yep. Braid or mono, Kevin?
Mono all the way. I tried the braid thing. I gave it a chance, and I'm terrible at it. Now, I did when I started out, I used braid on my spinning reels, and I didn't mind braid on the spinning reels as much. But braid on my bait casters, I don't know. I seems like I always end up ruining it, and it's really expensive. So a mono is much more forgiving, and it's a little more cost effective for me.
Yeah.
I know
And
some guys
you use a
really
lot of
like that.
You use a lot of the Andy line, don't you?
Yeah, I like the Andy Monster High Vis 30-pound test. And then I like Slime Line too. I like Slime Line for the visibility. That line glows so green. But even Slime Line has more memory than Andy Monster. Andy Monster is almost like spaghetti string.
Yeah.
Or spaghetti noodles. So I really like it.
Yeah. I know a lot of people use that Andy. The only thing I worry about with it is if you use 30-pound test, that Andy, if it says 30 pound, it's going to break right at 30 pounds. I mean, it's going to be close to it. And that's the only thing I worry about because, places I fish, you're going to have the weight of that fish. He's going to wrap you up in logs. He's going to get you around the rocks. You need something that super abrasion resistant. That's why I don't use braid in the waters that I fish. I tried braid. It will just shred braid all to pieces and you'll lose fish. So the braid is more sensitive. I do understand that. I could see guys that are bumping. If they're not in thick cover and stuff, I could see where that would come in handy, but I'm just not a braid fan. I like the monos.
Yeah, it's to each his own. Use what you're comfortable with, and if I was using spinning reels, I might use braid more often because I believe you get more casting different distance with braid.
Yeah, there's a question for you.
That's a good question. I've never used just regular Andy. I tried Andy Monster. Like I said, I've learned a lot about catfishing from Dieter Melhorn. I know some people would give me a thumbs down for that, but he's done a lot of videos that help beginners get started. So he was using Andy Monster, and I was using braid at the time. But when I switched over to bait casters, I wanted to see what people were using, and he was using Andy Monster, and he still uses it. And so
yeah,
I've never used the regular Andy, Cody. So sorry I can't answer that question.
I've never used it either, Cody. So I don't know. Maybe someone in chat has. But I watch a lot of Dieter. My wife loves Dieter Melhorn. When they had that tournament on Lake Wiley, I was really shocked because the only person I ever seen fish it was Dieter. And then the catfish tournament went on, and Chad and Dee and everyone else up there are pulling out these monsters. And I was like,
a good day.
I was like, Dieter, you've been holding out on us. I was surprised at the number of big flatheads that come out of that water. I just had no idea it was that phenomenal of a fishery. There was lots of big fish, lots of big flats.
Yeah, I had a great time. We had a great day as well, but not as good as Chad and D. They killed it.
Yeah, when you're culling 30-pounders, and you're having to turn 30-pound flatheads loose.
That's a good day.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
It sure is.
It was fun to watch. So, do you primarily just use the dragon weights? I noticed you mentioned Jimmy Smith, Santee Drifters. I use his dragon weights also. Do you primarily just use those?
Well, those that's more recent. Jimmy just called me up and he said, "Hey, if I send you some weights, will you use them?" And I said, "Absolutely, man. I mean, if I've used them before. I think I won some from him or something like that. No, he went fishing with me. And he gave me a handful of them, and I like them. They're great stuff. And I was like, sure, I'll use them. But before that, I just used the little short ones, the little short slinky weights that somebody makes them in town, and they sell them at the tackle shop that I go to, and they're a lot shorter and they're not flashy. They're just made out of parachute cord. So if I ever run out of drifting weights, I just use those.
Yeah. Thank you,
actually, Dan. The only reason Andy Monster is more than the Berkley Big Game is because it comes in a 1 pound spool. So you can get a 1 pound spool, which is like 1,600 yards on Amazon for $53. And in my opinion, the Berkley Big Game, if you fish as much as I do, the Berkley Big Game doesn't hold a candle to the Andy Monster as far as memory is concerned. Now, as far as hauling in a big fish, plenty of big fish have come in on that Big Game. There's nothing wrong with using it. I just don't personally care for it. So I buy that big 1 pound spool, and or is it 2 pound? I don't know how much. I know it's 1,600 yards, and I can spool all my reels 2 or 3 times if I wanted to. So
I use the Berkley Big Game also. I've used it for many years. It does have a lot of memory, but the thing I like about the Berkley Big Game, you can catch 50 and 60-pound fish on 25-pound test. It's very tough. It's very abrasion resistant.
It's a good line. It's a good line.
You don't have to worry about that fish tangling you up and breaking you off as much. Also, I like it because they got that high vis green, and that green really shows up. It even Chunky uses it now, even in his lives, because it shows up better in the black lights and stuff. And but I love, guys, use whatever line you have confidence in.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
There's no use tearing other people down because they use something different. We were just talking about that. Use what you want to use.
Yeah, there's guys that fish with braid because they have great success with it in their bodies of water. And if it works for them, more power to them.
That's right.
Hey, Patriot James, Matt, want to be outdoors? Welcome, guys. Even Steve Douglas, I'm a huge fan of him. He uses the Cat Max reels, and he's always on the boat. He uses braid on his rods. It works well for him. But there's guys that come on there that fish with him. Chris Souders. Chris Souders still uses mono. Some of us use mono. Some of us use braid, guys. It's not that critical. Don't bash people. If it works in their body of water, more power to them. Just like rods. There's many different rod companies out there. There's many different actions of rods. Get the one suitable for the way you fish. You're the one that has to be happy with your equipment and your gear. You're the one that's going to use it. So you should be the most important person to please. And as long as you're pleasing yourself, you're doing pretty good.
I agree 100%. And I probably in this chat, I'm probably the least qualified to recommend line to you. I'm just telling you that I fish a whole lot. at least once or when I'm working at least once or twice a week. And if I'm on break right now, I've fished the past 4 or 5 days in a row, and the Andy Monster holds up really well. So, and that's, I guess, to go back to the rods and all that stuff. I wouldn't promote something that I didn't believe in. So,
Yep.
that's the only reason I say it's good, is if I like it,
Well,
and it does well.
and you've got different rods and different reels, and it's not like you go on your boat and you see all these blue cat rods lined up with Abu Garcias on every one of them. You've got reels and rods from everybody. Some of them are PC Fun. You've tried all this stuff out, and it's kind of nice because you go on there and you can see everything in one place, and that's what everyone looks for.
I like Matt's comment. He said, I like to weave my own with llama and alpaca hair.
Yeah,
Those poor llamas and alpacas. How dare you?
I know it.
That's funny.
Yeah. And, fishing line has come a long way, guys. It's just another one of them things. We have fishing line that is catfish specific now. Before it was bass and it was crappie. Well, now they are starting to focus on the catfish. And, little things that we can do, if you can promote your local waters and get people to practice CPR, most every lake around here, if you go and launch your boat, you pay a fee to launch that boat. So every time a boat is launched in that body of water and someone comes down there to fish, the proceeds from that can be turned back in to restocking your lake, repairing the boat ramps, boat docks, fishing docks, stuff like that. So, don't be afraid to promote your waters, because the more revenue that they bring in, I think the more growth you're going to see on your local waters. We have 4 city lakes that are city owned here, and they let them go. They stopped taking care of them for about 10 years. The guy that was in charge of them just didn't take care of them. Well, they found out, they got rid of him, but the damage was done. People quit going out there because the fishing had decreased. And so they started back up. They invested $100,000 this year to start restocking these lakes. They built all brand new bathrooms, boat docks. They're redoing everything because they had lost so much revenue just from their lakes. And so now the guy that's over our lakes, I talk with him frequently. He listens to me. He'll take advice. We get to work together with them, and it's great because now these lakes are starting to come back. They brought other breeding stock in from other lakes to try and bring the genetics and stuff back to get these fish to grow, and bait fish, little stuff like that, guys. It goes a long way. So don't be afraid to promote your local waters. Kevin, I thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure. I know we didn't
I had
have
a
a whole
great
lot.
time, man. Thank you so
I know
much
we
for
didn't.
inviting me.
Yeah, I enjoyed having you. I know we didn't have a whole lot of questions in chat. They kind of stopped and listened and just let us talk, which is fine too. But I can't thank you enough for coming in. I can't thank all of our people, our viewers that come in. Lee Evans, welcome, buddy. It was great having everyone here, and I really appreciate you. I know I kept you over an hour, Kevin, but
That's
I really
okay.
appreciate you donating some of your time to where we could come in here and talk. And I really wanted to get up there and kind of give you a shout out and let you know that us in the catfish community are watching. We do appreciate everything you do. And, we just want you to know that we do appreciate you.
I'm humbled by that. Anytime anybody asks me to be on their show, I'm just humbled, and it doesn't happen often because I have my own show. So I think a lot of other guys feel like that too, that they have their own show. So, I'm humbled, and I'm just so thankful that you invited me on. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Even though you had to remind me, those of you who don't know, I told him, I said, dude, you got to keep reminding me, because
Yeah,
especially on break when I'm, tomorrow morning, like I'm not going fishing tomorrow for the first time all week because we got this tropical storm coming through. So I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. But, man, you said donating your time, man. My time, I'm just a regular person, just like all of you. But I am humbled that you said thank you, and that, I do appreciate the compliments. I don't want to downplay that at all. It means a lot to me.
Hey, Donald. Yeah, you got here a little late, buddy, but better late than never, Donald. And we all watch. We're waiting for the next new things to come out from your channel, because their trivia night was a big success. The knot tying tournament's huge success. The Golden Whiskers was awesome. People are nominating stuff for the Golden Whiskers also all the time. It's done so much, and it kind of lit a fire under everybody, and we're always watching for that next thing. The Iron Cats tournaments, everyone's watching them. And guys, if you have not checked out Palmetto Cats, you've got to go over and check him out. Great family channel. You will love it. Just like everyone else. You may not always be catching fish, but you'll have a great time and great conversation and entertainment. And
you're going to hear some bad singing mostly.
Yeah, motoring. I'm surprised no one threw the motoring out in the stream tonight. And guys, tomorrow I will be on 3+1 Outdoors. I will be up there talking to Larry and Cody, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, I believe. So if y'all can, check out 3+1, and we're going to be on there tomorrow. Show them some love. I appreciate everyone for coming in, guys. I appreciate your time, but I'm going to go ahead and end it and get ready for tomorrow. And there you go. Your boy Troy.
Motoring. Make sure y'all check out the Iron Cat boat tournament on Friday night, 6 p.m.
Yes.
I have so many prizes that I don't even know how. Like, I was surprised I got through them last time. I got probably twice the amount this time. So,
but
make sure y'all come. What's that?
Everyone's been donating. The Iron Cats have been such a success. It's received support from everyone, and they're really growing. And it's great to watch. And
Yep. Yeah, be there on Friday, awesome. and we're gonna try to make it. We'll see. All of them have ended at 3 a.m. The past 3 have ended at 3 a.m. So we'll see if this one goes farther or not. Just to throw one more plug in there, I got one coming up on October 30th called Monster Hunt. So that's going to be a winner take all, biggest fish. So I look forward to more details on that. All right. Yeah. We got to go so you can get ready for tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on the channel. God bless y'all.
I appreciate it.